You slam your phone on the table, not because of the phone, but because of a message you didn't expect. A soft rejection, a cold scene with no reply, a passing comment that left you staring at the ceiling all night, heart racing, throat tight, thoughts spinning, all from a single moment. Have you ever felt like that? As if your emotions took the wheel and you're just strapped in the back seat, watching helplessly as they drive you somewhere you never chose. One moment you're calm, the next, you snap at your partner, shut down during a meeting, or spiral over a memory you thought you buried. You didn't plan it, but it happened. Nietzsche once said, "Chaos gives birth to a dancing star." But what if the star doesn't dance? What if it crashes? What if the chaos inside you isn't creative, but corrosive? Think back to the last time you lost control. Not a dramatic breakdown, but the small, daily cracks. Snapping at someone you love. Going quiet when you should have spoken up. Mindlessly scrolling to escape a restless feeling. That's not freedom. It's a cage, built from your own emotions. And here's the brutal truth. Emotional chaos is a trap. Every time you fall into it, you give away a little more of your power. But the question isn't, why am I so weak? It's, how do I stand inside the storm, without being swept away by it? This is where Nietzsche's fire meets Stoic steel. Today we're going to uncover a strategy to escape the emotional trap and reclaim command over your inner world. Let's begin with a simple truth. You're not broken, you're just untrained. We've been taught a quiet lie. Your emotions are real. Follow them. But are they always right? Nietzsche called it the illusion of emotional authenticity, the belief that raw emotion is the truest form of self. In a world obsessed with feeling your feelings, we forget, not every emotion deserves the steering wheel. A glance shuts you down for days. A message makes you question your worth. A small criticism makes you abandon a dream. Is that really you? Or just a surge of untrained emotion? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." But most of us flip that truth. We let tiny external triggers rewrite our internal value. Emotion isn't the enemy, but without training, it becomes a trickster, making you believe you're living honestly while you're actually just reacting. Nietzsche believed, "The strong are not those who feel less, but those who feel deeply and still choose wisely." That's the difference between being ruled by emotions and using them as tools to forge strength. So here's the real question. If your emotions aren't driving you, then who is? No one escapes a trap in one leap. You don't wake up one day and suddenly master your emotions. You unlearn, observe, resist, and finally, command. Nietzsche didn't offer quick fixes. The Stoics didn't believe in instant peace. They both offered something far more powerful, a process. Think of this like shedding layers or breaking chains. Each stage reveals something deeper. Each one tests your honesty, your strength, and your willingness to grow. We're about to walk through 4 key stages, each one a rung on the ladder that leads you out of the storm, and it all begins at the place most people live without even knowing it. It doesn't start with a scream. It starts with a twitch, a glance, a comment, a delay in someone's reply. Suddenly your chest tightens, your breathing shortens, your thoughts scatter like birds in a thunderclap. You tell yourself you're just tired, but something deeper is already unraveling. This is emotional overload, the silent hijacking of your nervous system. You might think it's just feeling things deeply, but Nietzsche would challenge that idea. To him, unexamined emotions are not signs of life, they're signs of surrender. When fear, anger, jealousy, or anxiety surge and you act without awareness, you're not being authentic, you're being possessed. The Stoics saw it too. Seneca warned, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." What does that mean in your life? It means most of your suffering doesn't come from the event, but from how your mind replays it. Someone disrespected you once, but you relive it 100 times. You edit the memory, Reinflate the insult. Rewrite the meaning. Your brain floods with stress chemicals not because of what happened, but because of what you keep telling yourself about what happened. This is the trap. Emotional overload feels real, but it's rarely true. And here's the brutal truth. Emotional overload is not intensity, it's imprisonment. When a single moment consumes your entire day, when one person's opinion derails your confidence, when one mistake echoes louder than all your progress, you've given your power away. Now pause. Ask yourself, when was the last time a 2-second event stole hours of your peace? Most people live stuck in this pattern, reacting, regretting, rationalizing. They believe they are just emotional. But the truth is, you're not emotional. You're untrained. And like any untrained warrior, your power doesn't disappear. It just gets used against you. Stage 1 isn't about being broken. It's about being unaware. The goal isn't to suppress your feelings. It's to stop them from deciding who you are. So here's your first challenge. This week, notice the first physical signal of overwhelm, the tight chest, the shallow breath, the clenched jaw. Don't fight it. Just name it. Because the moment you can name the storm, you've already started to step outside of it. Most traps don't need locks. They just need to convince you there's no way out. This is the most dangerous part of emotional chaos. It hides in plain sight. You think you're in control. You think your reactions are reasonable. You tell yourself, this is just who I am. But what if that's not true? Nietzsche warned that self-deception is the deepest form of weakness. The real threat isn't what's happening to you. It's the fact that you refuse to look at what's happening inside you. Here's the painful truth. Emotional chaos thrives on denial. As long as you believe you're fine, you will never seek to change. The chaos doesn't need to overpower you. It only needs to convince you it's normal. Think about it. You lash out and say, that's just how I express myself. You shut down and say, I just need space. You sabotage a good thing and whisper, maybe I didn't deserve it anyway. You're not lying. But you're not telling the full truth either. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, if someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change. That's not weakness. That's sovereignty. The Stoics taught, freedom begins when you can separate what is within your control from what is not. But how can you do that if you won't admit your emotions are running the show? Let's get honest. How many decisions have you made while angry and regretted later? How many words have you swallowed out of fear only to replay the moment over and over? How many times have you blamed circumstances when it was really your own avoidance? Recognition is not pretty. It's raw. But it's also powerful. Because once you see the bars of your cage, you can no longer pretend they're not there. Here's the brutal truth. You cannot escape what you won't name. And most people spend their lives spinning inside invisible cages, convinced they are free, while emotion dictates every move. So pause. Look back at a recent emotional reaction. Not the other person, not the situation. You. What story were you telling yourself in that moment? What belief was secretly driving your behavior? Until you face the mirror with ruthless clarity, you'll keep fighting shadows and wondering why nothing changes. Your challenge for this stage is simple, but hard. Pick one recurring emotion, not just what it feels like, but what it says to you. Then write it down. No filters. No blame. Because when you name the voice inside, it starts to lose its power. And in that silence, the first crack of freedom appears. So you've seen the cage. You've named the storm. And now comes the hardest part. Resisting the pull. Emotional chaos doesn't disappear just because you recognize it. In fact, now it fights harder. It disguises itself as urgency, as truth, as just who you are. But this is the moment you begin to build the muscle of self-command. Nietzsche believed power is not something granted. It is forged in struggle. He wrote of the will to power not as dominance over others, but as mastery over the self. In this stage, your will begins to awaken. The Stoics knew this intimately. Marcus Aurelius didn't conquer himself through force. He practiced small moments of pause. He trained questions into his reflexes. Is this in my control? What would my best self do here? Does this emotion deserve my full attention? This is resistance. And resistance is never glamorous. It's not winning an argument. It's choosing not to send that text. It's sitting with discomfort instead of numbing it. It's noticing the impulse to react and breathing instead. It feels weak at first. Pointless even. Because the emotion is still there. The chain is still tight. But what you don't see yet is this. Every act of pause rewires your brain. Neuroscience confirms this. The more you interrupt a pattern, the weaker it becomes. You are teaching your nervous system that you are safe, even when triggered. Think of it like strength training. You don't lift one time and become strong. You lift again and again. You rest. You fail. You return. Resistance is the rep. Discipline is the set. Mastery is the result. Here's the brutal truth. Most people never make it to this stage because resistance feels like failure. It doesn't feel like power. It feels like restraint. But power is restraint. Because it means you choose. Ask yourself, what emotion keeps hijacking your day? What would happen if you didn't obey it, but just observed it? You don't have to win the war today. You just have to delay the reaction by 5 seconds. That's it. A breath. A pause. A choice. Every time you do, you test the chain. And one day, not all at once, but quietly, it begins to loosen. Your challenge. Choose one emotion that usually drives you. Anger, insecurity, jealousy, anxiety. For the next 3 days, whenever it shows up, pause. Count to 5. Then respond or don't. Because the chain cannot hold you if you no longer pull against it automatically. Freedom doesn't arrive with fanfare. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks or applause. It comes quietly, in a moment so ordinary, you almost miss it. You're in traffic, and someone cuts you off. But this time, you don't explode. You get a text that once would have triggered hours of spiraling. But now, you breathe. You move on. This is not suppression. It's sovereignty. Nietzsche saw true strength not in those who dominate, but in those who create, those who turn chaos into clarity. The will to power, in its highest form, is not about control over others. It's the ability to create meaning even in the face of chaos. This is what it looks like. You feel fear before a big decision, but you act anyway. You notice jealousy rising, but you don't feed it. You hear criticism, but you respond instead of reacting. The Stoics called this apatheia, not apathy, but the state where emotion no longer dictates your behavior. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." And now you're doing it. You're no longer ruled by every spike of adrenaline or wave of doubt. You feel everything, but you choose your response. This is clarity, seeing things as they are, without distortion. This is command, acting not from compulsion, but from choice. But don't mistake this for perfection. Freedom is not the absence of emotion. It is the presence of inner authority. The storm still comes, but now your hands are steady on the wheel. Here's the brutal truth. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you feel. But real freedom means you're no longer a slave to what you feel. You've earned this moment, not through force, but through awareness. You've trained your mind to pause, your breath to anchor, your actions to align. So pause now. Reflect. What would your life look like if this level of clarity was your new normal? What would change, not just outside, but inside? This is where emotional chaos loses its grip. Not because the world gets easier, but because you get stronger. Your challenge. For the next week, track the moments where you choose rather than react. At the end of each day, ask, where did I show command today? Because this is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a new way of living. You are no longer walking through life chained to emotion. You are walking free. Every journey has a turning point, not the loud moment, not the dramatic collapse, but the quiet shift when you realize the storm outside is no longer louder than the voice within. This is that moment. Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. This is not just poetry. It's a survival strategy. When you reconnect with your why, emotional chaos no longer breaks you. It sharpens you. Fear becomes a signal, not a sentence. Pain becomes raw material for growth. Emotion becomes feedback, not command. The Stoics saw this transformation as the return of inner control. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the shift, from reacting to reality to creating your relationship with it. Up to this point, you've observed, resisted, practiced. But now something deeper emerges: sovereignty. You stop asking, "How do I stop feeling this way?" and start asking, "What does this feeling want to teach me?" Instead of fighting the storm, you read its patterns. Instead of fearing emotion, you understand its language. Instead of bracing for impact, you move with precision. This is not detachment. This is mastery. Because the truth is, chaos never really disappears. But when you have purpose, perspective, and presence, chaos can no longer control you. This is where many people stop, because they think surviving emotion is enough. But you're not just here to survive. You're here to lead, to build, to shape reality with discipline and fire. This is the power Nietzsche spoke of, the creative force born after chaos, not during it. This is the calm of the Stoic, unshaken not because life is easy, but because their mind is trained. So ask yourself now, what becomes possible when your inner state is no longer dictated by external noise? The world will still throw storms at you. But now, your response is not reflex, it's a choice forged by fire. And that is the beginning of true transformation. Remember how this began? That moment your emotions hijacked your peace. That invisible wave that swallowed your clarity, the restless mind, the heavy chest, the spiral you couldn't stop. That storm hasn't disappeared. Life will still throw winds at you. But you are different now. You've seen the trap. You've named it. You've tested its grip. And step by step you walked out of it. This is not motivation, this is memory, your own. Nietzsche called for strength in the face of chaos. Not denial, but creation. The Stoics taught us to train the mind until it becomes unshakable. You've done both. Think about the last moment you lost control. Now imagine stepping into that same moment, with the awareness you've built. You pause, you breathe, you choose, and the entire outcome changes. That's not theory, that's training. Most people watch videos like this and nod, then forget. But if you've made it this far, you're not most people. So here's your final reflection. What would your life look like if this version of you became the baseline? Not the reactive one, not the overwhelmed one, the one who knows how to stand still in the storm. This isn't about perfection, it's about practice. Let this moment be a loop, back to where you started. Except this time, you are not afraid of your emotions. You understand them, you command them. And maybe for the first time, you are truly free. If this journey spoke to something in you, leave one word below: free. Not just a comment, a declaration. A quiet signal to yourself and to others that you are stepping out of the trap. This is not for the algorithm, it's for alignment. And if you know someone who is caught in their own storm, a friend, a sibling, a version of your past self, share this with them. Sometimes one message at the right moment becomes the anchor someone didn't know they were searching for. Stay close to this space. Here, we don't chase hype. We build depth. We don't drown in chaos. We learn to command it. Together, we rise. One breath at a time. One pause at a time. One choice at a time. Because freedom is not found, it is forged.